And what could be cuter this week than a Suzuki Swift Sport? Suzuki have been really clever with this Suzuki Swift Sport. They've not tried to overcook the pudding. It's been out a couple of years, and when it was tested a few years ago, it got a 5-star ANCAP rating. They come in 2 models, or should I say, it comes in 2 gearboxes, a manual and an automatic, and both are 6-speed. And it is incredibly sporty, not just the way it looks. This bronze is a nice enough colour. There's a couple of others to choose from. The yellow I think looks particularly good. We start off with LED headlights at the front, a 1.4 litre turbo 103 kilowatt engine, 17-inch wheels, and this cool black roof, which I think looks absolutely sensational. You can open the doors, unlock the doors. It's telling me the key's not in my pocket, from either of the front doors or from the rear hatch. You'll have to excuse the cicadas. And around the back, we've got cool LED tail lights. And under here, you'll see there's an electric button to open and unlock and lock. Inside the hatch has over 260 litres of space with the seats up, and they go down in a 60-40 split, which will give you over 900 litres of space. The lower portion of the rear bumper is carbon fibre effect, and there's dual rear exhausts. And the rear has a surprising amount of space. You can see that although the seat's set up for me and I've got the seat quite a long way back, there's still plenty of room for my knees, plenty of head height, and the seats are covered in this allegedly sporty fabric. There's some smart red stitching, which makes the back a really comfortable place to be. The seats are small, there's no get out about it. It's made clearly for much smaller people than big Australian motoring riders. And I think the front is particularly successful. There's some cool detailing across the top of the dash and over on the doors. And of course there's Apple CarPlay. This screen responds particularly quickly. I'm really impressed with this. The steering wheel is well laid out, and on the right side are the controls for the smart cruise control, including distance to the car in front and speed limiter. And on the left hand side are the audio controls and phone answering controls. But with Apple CarPlay, you can do a lot of that completely hands-free just by using your voice, and that's what I think has made Apple CarPlay a particular success. The dash is a simple affair. I like this red effect at the top. Below that is the central LCD screen that you can have either speed or other details. It's also how you access some of the menus. And you access the menus with this, something that we had a lot of trouble finding. We've actually achieved very near the claimed fuel consumption, which is 6.1 litres per 100 kilometres. We're on 6.2 litres per 100 kilometres. You can see I've got my Navman navigation plugged in. This is also a dash cam, and it plugs into either the USB or the power outlet. Now this is what you need to activate your Apple CarPlay. Air conditioning is single zone fully automatic climate control, and the dash level vents are all well placed. And now we're on the road. We're heading onto the Eastern Distributor to get up to a bit of speed. First of all, the seats. I've got a big bum and it doesn't quite fit in this seat. You get used to it after a while, but the side bolsters are kind of poking into the sides of my legs. The steering is just sensational. The engine's buzzing along happily. This is the same turbo engine that's in some of Suzuki's bigger SUVs. You might think a 1.4 litre turbo is a bit mean for a sports car. However, when you consider that both the manual and the automatic weigh well under 1,000 kilos, that's an excellent power to weight ratio. There's a couple of safety things as well. We've got, as I already mentioned, the smart cruise control. We've got blind spot monitoring as well, and lane warning. Now the lane departure warning is only a warning, it's not active, it doesn't steer the car. It was beeping too much, so I turned it off. If it's not going to steer the car, I don't think that it's much use. As I mentioned, when this car was tested, it had a 5-star ANCAP safety rating, which of course it still carries now. They're good for 6 years. The cabin is fairly quiet. You get just a little bit of a buzz from that sweet little engine. Just the merest hint of sportiness, and it makes me feel like I'm in one of those 60s sports cars. Suspension, well, the ride is fairly smooth. We've got McPherson struts at the front and a torsion beam rear end. And I've been pretty mean about torsion beam rear ends in the past because some of them can be a little bit rough. They make the back end feel a little bit dead. But this is nice. Over most surfaces, the ride is fairly smooth, and on this really smooth tarmac, the ride is sensational. The sound from the sound system it's adequate, but it is much better when you use something streamed from your phone by CarPlay, for example, as I've been doing. The thing that really surprised me when I was speaking to Suzuki yesterday was this, that half of the sales of Swift Sport are automatic. I can't understand it. I can't understand why anybody would want to buy an automatic sports car. You can see at night the dash lights up fairly well. And in particular, the steering wheel is backlit, and that's what I like, so that you can see those controls at night without having to strain yourself or without having to know already where they are. Now, I've brought you to my usual spot just to show you a little bit of sharp steering. I'm just going to shift down, and you can see how beautifully smooth those shifts up and down are. It's just delightful. I think I'll take it down a second, get that little engine really singing. It redlines at over 6,000. It's just such a joy. This is just delightful. Quite sharp bend here, no problem. And up, a little bit of a bump, another sharp bend. Oh, it's just sweet. So, to wrap up, Swift Sport is excellent value. For $30,000, you get a car that is competent on road and on highway. It's easy to drive around town, and even the manual transmission is as sweet as can be. Like the Swift GTI before it, the Swift Sport carries on a long legacy of fun, sporty motoring for people that are budget conscious. And as always, if you've liked the film, leave a comment, hit like, and just there to subscribe.